Hello. After an enforced winter break, Darlington returned to National League North action, but it was a team nicknamed the Breaks that brought our 8-game unbeaten run to a screeching halt, the final score being Leamington 2, Darlington 1. To help me make sense of this and much, much more, I'm joined today by two fantastic guests on today's episode of Darlo Till I Die. First up, a Darlington fan of over 30 years who was recently elected as a director of the Darlington Supporters Group, and he's ticked off plenty on his Darlo bucket list, from commentating to donning the famous Mr. Q costume, although thankfully not today. He can also add a podcast appearance now to that. It's Andy Hodgson. How are you doing, Andy?
Yeah, I'm okay, Adam. Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Good. And joining Andy, a man with over 40 years of dedication to the Quakers, and the last 10 of those have been spent commentating on the fantastic Darlo Fans Radio. It's a warm welcome to Michael Cansfield. Thanks for being here, Michael.
Hello, Adam. Thanks very much for having me on. I should have used that line yesterday on the commentary. Screeching breaks is good. That's very good.
Well, that's where we'll start, guys, because, of course, it did finish Leamington 2, Darlington 1. Our unbeaten run comes to an end, and it just so happens that the two of you were on commentary duties. I think, Andy, it was your debut, was it, on the Darlo Fans Radio?
It was, yeah. It was my debut, and obviously we got beat, so I don't think I'll be asked back again.
Talk about Jonah, yeah. I might come to you first then, Andy. I guess it was going to happen at some point that we were going to fall to defeat. Gave ourselves a bit of a mountain to climb, 2-0 down, I think, inside 11, 12 minutes. Despite Will Hatfield putting in another goal of the season contender, we couldn't quite hit back in the second half. How do you reflect on the game?
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. It was a poor start, really. It's a real mountain to climb after letting the two early goals in. And it just felt, I know we spoke during the week, Adam, it just felt like it was lining up to that, the fact they'd lost in midweek, they'd lost the top scorer, Steve Watson had got manager of the month, everything just seemed to be aligning for a Leamington win, and that's how it turned out. But yeah, it was obviously disappointing to lose, but yeah, we had a real mountain to climb letting those two early goals in, really.
Yeah, and Michael, I had a chance to look at the goals that the club had put up earlier today. I've got to say, the pitch didn't look the greatest. I don't know how much impact that had on the game, but what are your thoughts, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a biggie. We're not a perfect team yet, so we can't expect to win them all. But it just seemed a little bit. The pitch is a well-known track. It's not good. It's not pretty, and we put out our show pony type players, your Lamberts and Kellys, and I'm not entirely sure that worked with that pitch. But it's easy for us to say in hindsight, obviously. But I think, following on from what Andy said, I think it was a combination of that Chester result and also that guy that Jack Edwards, Andy, can remember getting his name right eventually. It was his 437th game, so I think he's quite a big part of that team. So I think there was a whole load of momentum, and I had a little watch of their managers after match interview, and it felt like because that's what they did seem to come out of the starters quite quickly, and that long throw. And for those who remember Southport away, it's a bit of an Achilles heel, even though that was a different manager. We're trying to play football, and you played into our weaknesses, and we just didn't get started, I don't think. And as I said at the beginning, I thought maybe Tom Platt should have started just to keep it steady, but we're on a great run. It's just a blip in the bit. It's the bit that worries me, obviously, was, as we'll come on to, we've got a couple of interesting games coming up, so we'll see.
Yeah, and Andy, Toby Lee sent off, I think, was it in injury time, second yellow card? What were your thoughts on that? He's going to miss the Kidderminster game now, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm not sure when the ban kicks in. It might kick in for next weekend's game against Curzon. I'm not sure how it works, Adam. Yeah, I know Leamington had a player sent off. Their right back Meredith was sent off midweek, and he still played yesterday. So It might be the Curzon game that he misses. Yeah, no complaints from me. The one in the first half was a yellow, and then the challenge for the second. They were just on a break, and the players passed it, and he's just come in late. I think Watson said in his interview after the game he didn't think it was a yellow. I'd have to disagree with that. I think it was probably just a tackle born out of frustration. It wasn't a nasty tackle. It was just late. So yeah, it's a shame because obviously Lees and Forbes, have probably gone a little bit under the radar in terms of the partnership they've had at the back this season and the times that they have played at centre-back together. So, yeah, we'll probably have to have a reshuffle. Me and Michael were talking yesterday what the kind of options are there. I know Platt can play there. I know Barrow can move into centre-back and we maybe play Headley left-back. But, no complaints with the red card for me.
Yeah, I mean, with Forbes, I guess Scott Barrow might come in, and I think would that mean putting maybe Ben Headley out at left back? So there would be a bit of a reshuffle there. But yeah, I mean, look, league table as it stands puts us in 8th, just outside of those playoff places. We are a point behind Chorley. A little bit of a gap then. I think it's we're on 39 points. Curzon Ashton, who are one of those teams who you mentioned there, Michael, who we've got coming up in this bit of a tough run we've got, on 45 points. Michael, I think after 25 games, if someone had said to us you'd be a point outside the playoffs, we'd be pretty happy with that, wouldn't we?
Absolutely, especially with the injury list that we started at the beginning of the season. It was always a question of trying to keep yourself in the mix, and then the second half of the season we see where we go. We've still got a bit of an issue with a little bit toothless. It seemed I don't know if you saw it after the game, Andy, but I saw Cedric wasn't happy. I don't think he was. I think he's just struggling to. He's not getting a lot of the ball. I don't remember having a shot on target or having a shot, to be honest, or anybody creating anything for him. So it's just little bits that need to sort out. That's the bit. But the shell of that side is very good. I mean, some of it's just the touches of Lambert and Kelly are just awesome. The defence have done very well. The midfield, I can't wait to see Flint and Tom Platt together in the second half of the season, because I just think that's going to let the forward players be freer and the fullbacks to be able to go forward. I'm very much looking forward to this second half.
Yeah, excellent.
Is that better?
Okay. I think
Well,
that's improved.
Still technology altogether. I was just trying to make the sound a bit better, but forget it. Don't worry.
You mentioned Will Flint there, Michael. Of course, he was one of 3 players who have had their loans extended in the past couple of weeks. So along with Caden Kelly and Jack Lambert, I think Will's going to be with us for the rest of the season, and Caden and Jack, I think the end of January. The club did mention that I don't think the deal could have happened without help from the Darlington supporters group. Obviously, Andy, of which you are a director, I don't know if you can just maybe add a little bit to that and those deals.
Yeah. Obviously, the DFCSG board were able to help there, but just to reiterate the kind of importance and how it's great, fans pay the £25 a year, £2 a month, whichever way you want to do it, and it's good to show the fans that money's being used to sort of help the club and obviously keep those 3 players, which is really important, especially Will Flint, getting him till the end of the season. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. And, it was kind of looking at that rather than doing another boost to the budget. Last year was exceptional circumstances with us obviously in a real relegation fight. So yeah, it's great, and obviously thanks to everybody who's a member and pays that money. And if anyone else is interested, I'd definitely get involved.
100%, well worth doing. You mentioned the boost the budget there, Andy. Of course, last season it was desperately needed, and I think without that 30 grand or so, I think it's fair to say we wouldn't be in the National League North now, would we? Now, we did do a little poll on Twitter a few weeks ago as to see if people would support a mid-season boost the budget, and unsurprisingly, I think opinions were divided. Michael, where do you stand on that? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. It is a good thing, but it feels like it's just something you don't want to be pushing too far, because you don't want it to break. I'm kind of amazed it's got this far, to be honest. It works as I thought it would work as a one-off, and like probably a lot of us. But the fact that it's locked in as a thing, it just takes your breath away, really. So yeah, I wouldn't overdo it. And the reality is, we've got a decent squad. It's just getting players fit. So it's not like we can go out and buy ourselves a sudden magic goal scorer. It doesn't work like that. So we've got good players anyway. It just needs time. And look at you see what the difference Kelly made of just giving him a few games in, and now you've got all these other players back in. They just need time. They're getting into that bit now, so I'm not sure we particularly need. We always need an extra player, but I don't think it's massively needed. Not like last year.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, you mentioned the squad there, and of course, injuries are starting to clear up now, thankfully. I mean, do we still think we might be a little bit light up front, at the risk of sounding like a scratch record? Because I've said this on the last 2 episodes that I feel we need to bring a striker in just to help the group. I think even DJ sort of said as much as well in an interview he did with the club a couple of weeks ago. I think Andrew Nelson's still finding his way back. Jack Maskell has sort of been in and out recently. I think he came off the bench yesterday, didn't he? Are we a Cedric Main injury away from our sort of playoff bid faltering? What do you think, Andy?
I mean, yeah. I mean, Cedric's obviously really important to the side. I mean, what he brings in terms of goals and assists. I mean, obviously the Boxing Day game against Scarborough, 3 fantastic assists. He brings a lot to the side. And yeah, there is a worry that if Cedric was injured, you know, it would really hurt us. But yeah, in terms of I would agree with that. I mean, like Michael said, I'm quite happy with the squad. Really had an opportunity to play together too much with the various with Main being injured. Maskell's obviously missed a few games as well. But yeah, to answer your original question, obviously it would be a concern if Main was missing. But you could say that about a few players, Hatfield, Flint. So, we've had our injuries at the start of the season, so hopefully now we can go towards the end of the season and stay relatively injury-free.
Michael, we've seen, I think, Aidan Rutledge, who of course did so well last season for us. I think he's signed for Spennymoor, hasn't he, till the end of the season. I saw that Ollie Thompson, who had a game with us earlier in the year, I think he's gone to Whitby as well. So I'm sure that Steve Watson's obviously aware of all of this. Where do you stand then, Michael? Do you think it would be a case of if we did bring a striker in, we'd probably have to look to maybe get Nelson or Maskell out on loan, if not both? What do you think?
I mean, to be honest, we talked a little bit about it on commentary yesterday with Maskell, because I think because we've got a lot of players who want to play it to feet, and I don't think that's necessarily his natural game, but he's going to evolve and adapt. He's come up a couple of levels. You don't just do that overnight, and he's had a little knock and the illness. But I think it could be a little bit more as the team evolve to get him into the game a bit more. If they actually got it to the byline, got some crosses in for him and gave him something to run onto, you could see there was a certain tactic of playing it to his head, because he can head the ball and he can be that role, whereas Cedric wants it to his feet with his back to goal. I'm not so sure. I think it's more about evolving the team in order to work with the strikers that we've got. And if Nella's not far away from coming back, I mean, obviously, it'd be nice to get somebody in, but we've already got 3 strikers. In theory, if our prime formation is to play 1, what's the point of having 4? We don't have the money to mess around with that kind of stuff. That would be my middle ground view.
Yeah. Well, I think DJ said as well that the budget has been spent. So I guess if we were to see a striker come in, I would imagine it would mean someone like Maskell or Nelson maybe moving out on loan, for a month or so. It's a tricky one, isn't it? Like you say, Andy, if we got an injury, Pete Jameson as well springs to mind. I mean, he's been fantastic this season, if not our best player, if he was to suffer an injury as well. Yeah, I mean, let's look ahead then anyway, guys. We've got a big game on Tuesday. It doesn't get much harder away at Kidderminster Harriers, who I think they inflicted our only home defeat at the beginning of the season. And then following that up with games at home against Curzon, and then I think Buxton as well, who are just a point behind us as we speak. So this should be a real test, Andy, of our promotion credentials.
Yeah, I mean, coming off the back of a defeat yesterday, you couldn't ask for a harder game next, playing down at Kidderminster, who were top of the league, I believe, and obviously they won yesterday at home to Warrington. At the start of the season when we played them, we didn't keep the ball particularly well that day, and they just had that little bit of extra bit of quality, which won them the game. But probably a decent. I would imagine it'll be a better pitch down at Agborough, and we tend to do okay when we play against the better sides, because I think yesterday we kind of maybe got into a little bit of a dogfight with the way that Leamington played. So yeah, let's go down there and full of optimism. We're a good side nowadays, and we can go toe to toe with any side. But yeah, I think the next 3 games are going to be really important, and hopefully after that, we can still be there or thereabouts where we are now.
Yeah, Michael, we're going to make that journey to Kidderminster, obviously without Jack Lambert, who won't be allowed to play against his parent club, and possibly Toby Lee's not too sure on when they'll serve that one-match ban. But I guess opportunities for other people in the squad.
Indeed. I love that royal we, Adam, as I'm going to have to set off at God knows what time in the afternoon to get down to Kidderminster on a Tuesday night. It's not just difficult for the players, I can assure you. For all the rest of us who have to try and get down there, it's a challenge. I think Kidderminster will be better for us to play because they play it on the ground and Agra's pitch is pretty good. So in a bizarre twist of it, we've probably got more chance of getting something out of that one. It just depends how much the fully switched on Kiddie is. Like you said, Andy, we played them earlier, and I don't think we were anywhere near the level that we're at now. So you fancy our chances at what we do. Obviously, we don't have Lambert because he's their player, but I think that just gives an option. If it means Tom Platt comes in and then you get Will Hatfield going further forward, for me, I just think Will Hatfield is just a known quantity and he can do the job. Obviously, we've still got Kelly and Lambert. I mean, Campbell's more of a known quantity now, but those are players that kind of come in and out. And Matty Cornish, he's really coming back into his own now. There's bits where those players, I'm sure you guys remember the phase where Salkeld and Cornish were kind of in a great game and then played really badly the next one, and it was all that kind of rotation. But Cornish seems to have got himself back in, and I'm really liking Cornish. So I'm not worried about it. I think we should. I'm kind of looking forward to it as much as you can, looking after having to go to Birmingham on a Tuesday at 3:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah, you mentioned Matty Cornish there as well. I think he had a few injury problems at the start of the season, Andy, but he's starting to look more like the player that we saw join us from Marsk last year and had such a big impact.
Yeah, me and Michael were saying yesterday, actually, we thought he had a decent game. You know, he was getting a lot of the ball in the second half and some lovely touches and playing on that sort of right hand side. Yeah, it's a funny one. Like Michael said, him and Salkeld last season were absolutely, you know, at times they're absolutely fantastic. Whereas Salkeld was on the bench yesterday but didn't get involved. But yeah, Matty Cornish, I think it's going to be really, really important for us between now and the end of the season. And if he can start chipping him the goals that he added last season, then you know, we're going to be in a really, really good spot, hopefully.
I think I'll just say on the back of that, Adam, I think the other bit is, if you think of last season, a lot of it, Cornish was getting the ball to run onto. And I think we're a little bit too much of we're playing in front of their defence. So we're coming for the ball all the time, which is nice and we're moving it around. But when you played against a Leamington that had basically a back six as soon as we got the ball, it makes it very tight and difficult. And we don't particularly use our width. We use our fullbacks for that width. So we need to get those players running beyond Cedric so that he's got room to manoeuvre and do his thing. And then you can see, because Matty Cornish can score goals. He scored some lovely goals last season and he's got it completely in his locker to do it. So is Lambert, but Lambert's never going to be a man who runs beyond. So we need somebody to make it. And obviously Sir Will of Hatfield, he's famous for his charging runs. We need to, if he's further forward, we'll get to be able to expose that a bit more, utilise.
You mentioned the width there, Michael. I think I read a comment on Twitter sort of bemoaning the lack of width in the current side. I did think to Ali Al-Shabib, who I don't think he's been in the matchday squads the last few games. Andy, I don't know whether that's through, just hasn't been selected or other reasons, but I think he has shown he's had his moments in the Darlington shirt, hasn't he? So maybe he comes into contention.
Yeah, I think he was carrying an injury yesterday. I think Watson had sent his pre-match interview. But yeah, he looked sort of round end of October, start of November. He looked quite useful. Obviously scored at, scored at Farsley. It was at Buxton, but yeah, we all know what that means. Yeah, I think from the times I've seen him play, he looks a good player. I just wonder if he's a little bit of a luxury player sometimes because he is a very, very nice footballer, and obviously, but having said that, he does work hard to get the ball back. So hopefully, when he's fit, we can get him involved again, because I think he does give us that little bit of something different. But yeah, we've not really seen him much over the last sort of 6-7 weeks. He's not really been involved too much.
No, he hasn't. So yeah, maybe an opportunity for him. I guess we'll wait and see. I guess looking ahead, particularly to these next two games, those Kidderminster and Curzon. For me personally, if you offered me 4 points, I don't think I'd snap your hand off. I'd devour it. Yeah. What are your thoughts, Michael? You think that'd be a decent return, wouldn't it?
Yeah, there's a bit of Tuesdays away long distance is always a bit of a lottery to a certain extent because you just don't know how the players, how they are. If all things in our favour, it should be all right. I think Curzon should be a good game because they've got a carpet to play on it. It is home, isn't it? Yeah, so playing at our pitch might be a little bit more of a challenge, but our players can use it. I fancy a chance. I was slightly amazed. I think Curzon are probably a bit of a Tamworth, a bit of an unknown quantity, doing so well so far. Although different style of play, but I'm slightly surprised Curzon because not that great, but they've got a great striker. So I'm hoping Toby Lees is not out for that game because Jimmy Spencer is always a threat at this level. So it's just a question of that. But I fancy a chance against Curzon. If we can get a point at Kiddie, I think it would make the 3.5, 4 hour journey home slightly less painful.
Yeah, Jimmy Spencer could have been a Darlington player, I believe, or was poised to become a Darlington player. I think Curzon gazumped us at the last minute, so the story has it. I don't know if you know about that one, Andy.
I think David Johnson said it in his interview as well, in the interview before Christmas, that he was due to sign. We desperately needed a striker at that time, having lost Mark Beck. But I think, credit to the club. Obviously, Curzon blew us out the water, but we didn't kind of throw our kind of budgeting strategy out the window, and obviously, just had to let that one go, unfortunately. Curzon, like you say, I'm surprised to see them so far up there. I mean, when we played them earlier in the season, it was a 0-0 game. We obviously had Cedric and a lot of players injured that game, but we could have probably taken first half performance. We could have taken the 3 points from that game, but that was a long time ago. Obviously, both teams have settled into the season, but I'd definitely take the 4 points from the 2 games coming up.
Yeah, and I think that Curzon game, it'll be the first. Will that be the first home game of 2025? Have I got that right?
Yeah, since Boxing Day, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be almost a month. So, and hopefully, then, I mean, given the team's form as well, that we get a decent gate for that one. Maybe, I don't know, is 2,000 a bit wildly optimistic or in that region?
That might be a bit optimistic, yeah. If we win against Kidderminster, you never know. But I think Curzon might be a good game to go to, without trying to promote it too much. But I think there's a decent side, and I think we'll rise to it. And depending what happens at Kiddie, it should be. But obviously, so it's just the weather's been so grim as well. It's not. I mean, like yesterday, it wasn't freezing, but it wasn't much more than freezing. And on a muddy pitch in the middle of nowhere, it's trying to get your motivation up. And Blackwell Meadow has its moments. Although it's a lot better than it used to be, obviously. So it's. I think the Curzon game could be a good one.
Yeah,
something for me doing the away games.
Yeah. With that Kidderminster game, Andy, obviously this was the case yesterday. We can't afford a slow start because I think that's kind of been our undoing a little bit earlier in the season as well, sort of giving away cheap goals. So I think the first 15, 20 minutes will be key.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Buxton game, which is about the third game of the season, I think that followed a similar thing where we were 2-0 down after 25, 30 minutes. And it was, I mean, going back to the game yesterday, it was a shame because it just gave us a real big mountain to climb, and giving a team a 2-goal head start like that, is never ideal. But let's see what happens on Tuesday night. Got to start well and not have a repeat of what happened on Saturday.
Absolutely. We'll move on, guys. I just want to talk a little bit about the impact. I know I've mentioned it in the previous podcast about Steve and Terry. I think they're very much a team, aren't they? I did read something the other week I think it was on Twitter. I can't remember who it was. This person said they thought Steve Watson was the best manager in non-league, which when I read, I thought, well, that's quite a shout. And it's obviously subjective. But
Indeed.
The more I thought about it, I think he'd be in the conversation, wouldn't he? I mean, I know his time at Chester maybe didn't go according to plan, but he had success with York and Gateshead and the transformation that he's had with us. As our good form continues, hopefully, I guess there may be teams from higher up who'll be maybe casting an eye, Michael, on Steve and his success with us.
Well, yeah, that is always the bit because he's got a name. He exists. I mean, he was on the Shearer referenced him the other day on the weekend, didn't he? He's something, but I like the fact he's really in the nicest, politest way, because I really like him. He's very dull. He doesn't get too excited and he doesn't get too mad. He keeps it very simple. I think he very much goes along the same lines of you've just got to keep yourself in the mix at this point of the season, and then this is where we need to start putting 2-3 wins together at a time and start to really make our mark. But he's kept us in the mix. I like the sensible bit, but he's a bit of a checkered bit. I think the York City manager might question who's the non-league manager at the minute, because he's doing a pretty good job here. But he's all right. But I'd rather nobody talk about him at all. Just whatever's going on, the dynamic between him and Terry, it works. And let's not question it too much. I like the sensible bit, the knowledge of North East football, the name of Steve Watson. That gives you a reasonably good chance, I think. And I like the style of football. I was always worried when we got change of managers that we get somebody who's a bit more direct, and which is just, I'm really not a fan of that. There was a threat of the Salford, the Angry Brothers, and it's just not my cup of tea. Steve Watson plays it on the grass, and that's fabulous. And sometimes that might not work, but over the duration, you'll have an enjoyable. As a good example, as the away commentator, it was quite a shock when somebody pointed out we hadn't won away, or we'd only won one away. As a feeling, I hadn't really got that vibe at all, because it'd been relatively all right to watch, even if we hadn't won. But we've fixed that now. We seem to be competitive and getting results. So, yeah, he's carry on, but let's not mention his name. It's Fight Club. No one mentions it.
Yeah.
We don't talk about it.
I think you're spot on though, Michael, about, well, firstly, like how Steve and Terry do complement each other incredibly well. But just watching Steve's post-match yesterday, he is incredibly measured. And I think we mentioned this on the first pod with Richard and David. He doesn't seem to get too excited when we win, and it's not the end of the world when we lose. He's a real sort of steady Eddie, isn't he? Steve has played at the highest level, which Michael mentioned. I'm sure he has got ambitions to coach at the very highest level that he can. How impressed have you been then, Andy, by Steve and Terry?
Yeah, I think, you rewind a year to obviously this time last year, 2024. I don't know exactly, but I think it's probably around the time we lost to Tamworth at home 1-0. We hadn't signed Cedric at this point, and it was looking pretty desperate. So I think no fan will ever forget what he did last season in terms of keeping us up, because I just couldn't see it happening. We were so far behind. The games we had to win, the teams we had to play, it just seemed like we'd probably just run out of games. And then obviously to do it with a game to spare was amazing. And then this season, obviously we're Darlington Football Club and people would like us to be higher, but I think if you look at where we've come from and the challenges he's had at the start of the season with the injuries, to be in the position that we're in. And yeah, we lost yesterday, but before that we hadn't lost for, over 2 months, which was the Brackley game. Obviously not including the York Trophy game. So yeah, really impressed with Steve. I think, Michael's hit the nail on the head there. He's very measured. I think the interview yesterday was again, doesn't try to cover it up or just kind of says it how it is. But yeah, him and Terry, absolutely fantastic. I think they work really, really well together as a duo. We're really lucky to have them. But it's like anything at this level, isn't it? It's the same with players. If a player does well, clubs start looking at him. And obviously I know Eddie Howe lost yesterday in Newcastle. I know that would be Steve's dream job.
I think that's a bit of a jump. I think we're safe on that front.
But yeah, I mean, anyone listening, I wouldn't touch Steve Watson with a barge pole. So yeah, just let's keep him here. Thank you.
I'll close all conversation about that now, actually, yeah. Fellas, thank you so much. Look, we're going to move it into quiz time now. So we did this on the last episode. I'm going to bring up a memorable Darlington game, and you're going to one by one attempt to name the Darlo lineup, including the subs. So we had last pod, Well, it ended up just being Michael, I think. I think he got about 9 or 10 of the FA Trophy winning side. Pretty good efforts. For today, I'm going to go back to the 9th of November 2019. So I don't know if either of you can tell me off the top of your head what game I might be referring to there.
Walsall in the Cup?
Yeah, you got it, Andy. So the Walsall, the away game, of course, that finished 2-2. Michael, were you commentating on that one, or?
I was screaming at that one, yes. It was a rare game because we had Mike Price actually left home and came to an away game, so it was a very privileged day. So yes, but yeah, I was there. Yeah. Oh no, I shouldn't have said that. Should I put myself under more pressure? I'm guessing Andy was there as well. Anyway.
Yeah, and Andy, you were there. I take it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah. It was an amazing day. Yeah, and we played really, really well that day as well. And we probably should have won the game, to be honest with you, over the course of the game. But it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant day. So let's see how this quiz goes.
Yeah, of course, I wasn't there. So if people don't know listening, I've been exiled in Australia for about 10 years now. So yeah, I'll tell you what, and it's days like that when you really miss it, when you see the limbs, as they say, in the away end. When we did get that equaliser, I won't say who scored because I'll be giving you one of the answers there. Fantastic scenes, weren't they? So
this could be a very short game.
Andy, I'll start with you. So so I need any of the 11. Now, we actually only named 5 subs that day, so you can have 7 usually in the FA Cup. For some reason, I don't know, injuries or what, we only named 5. So I'm looking for 16 names, fellas. Yeah. So Andy, one name, please.
I'm going to go for a random one first because I know he set the goal up, and sadly he's no longer with us. Asaji Bascom.
Asaji Bascom. Yeah, as you say, sadly no longer with us. Who came off the bench and delivered that free kick. Always wondered if he meant it to be a daisy cutter or not. I mean, well, it worked out to perfection, didn't it? But yeah, Asaji Bascom gets us underway. Over to you, Michael.
I was terrified you were going to get. I can only think of one in my head at the minute. I came up from the goal celebrations. Joe Wheatley was playing. He was definitely in the goal celebrations there.
Yep, Joe Wheatley, who was, I think it was actually credited to someone else initially, but it was Joe Wheatley who thumped in that equaliser in injury time. So back to you, Andy.
So I'm going to go with the goalkeeper, and I believe it was Liam Connell who was in goal that day.
Yep, you would be correct. I think, was he on loan from us for South Shields?
Yeah, I actually bumped into Liam at work a year ago. He's an assistant head teacher at one of the schools that I worked at. Oh. Yeah. So I went into pure fanboy mode, so I think he felt a bit uncomfortable.
I think he made a mistake on one of the Walsall goals, didn't he? Don't remind him about that. I think having watched it the other day, I think maybe one of the goals he might have dropped it in. But yeah, he was a bit of a character, I think, wasn't he? But
I remember the famous where I think one of the fans had given him a Burberry cap when he was the sun was in his eyes, and he was really important actually. Now I run to get into that because he saved a penalty, and I don't know if it was a Leamington or the Tamworth game, but yeah.
All right, Liam Connell. So we've got 3 names, Michael.
This is where I'm really struggling to think of the players. I think I'm going to have to go with a relatively safer bet. I'm hoping is Jarrett Rivers as our longest-serving player, that he was in that side.
Yeah, Jarrett Rivers, I think he might have been initially credited with that equaliser that Wheatley got. Yeah, he was longest-serving player, Jarrett Rivers. Andy?
I'm going to go, because I know he got sent off in the game, Ben Headley.
Ben Headley,
got a red card, I think, late on, didn't he? Yep, so we've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 so far, Michael?
Somebody's trying to cheat and give me an answer there, but it's it's a bump information. Let's have a think. Now we are scraping. I'm trying to remember. Who was that? I mean, I'm trying to think of that Bolton centre-half that we had. Did he have played in that era? It's 2019. Oh, my God. So Ben Headley's playing, so he was left back. Griffiths can't have been there then, surely. It's 2019. It's coming up 6 years ago. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. I'm trying to think of the other Bascom and who's the other guy who played alongside him? The others. There was 3 when we had our Caribbean bit. Let's go for Justin Donovan. I can't remember. Yes, thank God.
You are correct. Yes, he came off the bench. Justin Donovan, I believe he's at Brackley now, I believe. Always
He
liked
is,
him.
yes.
He was a
Yeah,
good
he
player.
is.
I'd have him back in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's exposing my ability to remember
Andy.
names, as anybody who listens to games will know.
Over to you, Andy.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the player who scored the first goal. And then, like Michael said before, one of the sort of Caribbean trio, Omar Holness.
That's his name.
Correct. Yep, Omar Holness got the first goal, didn't he? I think he moved down south, didn't he, in the end? He was sort of at Bath or something.
Hendersford, yeah.
Right. Again, pretty useful player, wasn't he? So what's that? 2
Yeah, he was.
force, Michael.
Right. Well, here's a one from the dark past that you can't remember. Is Simon Ainge, was he in that side?
Simon Ainge, yeah, I think signed from Harrogate, wasn't he? A centre half or striker.
He was definitely never a striker. He was not. Oh no!
He was not. So Andy,
He was a Tommy signing, wasn't he? Yeah.
Was it Tommy?
Was it Tommy Wright signing?
Yeah.
I was thinking of Stice, but it won't be Stice, will it? No, he was a Tommy signing as well.
Gonna go with I'm pretty sure he played in this game, Will Hatfield.
You would be
Oh
correct.
my
Will
God,
Hatfield.
of course.
Yep. So well done, Andy. I don't know. Could you name any more, Andy, from that? If I put you on the spot.
I'm just trying to think of what team will have played. Adam Campbell, Alex Story.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. I can't remember who played centre half with him though, Michael. I'm struggling. Stephen Thompson played that day.
He did. Yep.
Did Galbraith play?
You're doing very well, mate. You're on a roll here.
I remember like Armstrong came in and they were like the 2 remaining sort of grey players, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Or Tyrone O'Neill didn't play because he got Burrard recalled in the night before. I remember. How many have we got altogether?
Well, we've got 10 of the 11, just missing 1, and then there's 3 more substitutes to get. So 4 names.
Have we got a striker?
Dear me.
Was Adam playing up front on his own? Who was up front? Is it a striker we're missing? Adam?
I think it's a centre back from the starting line. It's not Lewis Lang, is it?
Lewis Lang was a substitute who came on.
Story. Was it?
I'll be very impressed if you get a couple of these subs, to be honest. If you're playing along at home and you've got the subs, well done.
Oh, we had a tall lad on loan who we signed from Morpeth who could play centre back and could play up front as well, and I can't remember his name for the life of me. Can you remember him, Michael? Is that who it is, Adam, or is he not him? No.
Don't think so, no.
He's not a name that slips off the tongue, is he, no?
No.
Are the people on the bench people have not played less than 5 games? Probably.
Certainly one of them is. The other one, not too sure.
Armstrong's son wasn't on the bench, was he? Reece Armstrong.
Reece Armstrong, yes. Now, you
and just for people listening, I'm not. You can see my hands are free. I'm not googling this or anything.
Reece
Armstrong, well done, Andy. Well done.
Yeah.
After that, is it? Who was the lad who played? He was a big, tall lad. It might not even be him. How many have we got there? Then have we got 14 out of the 15?
Yeah, we got 14 out of 16. I'll put you out of your misery. So the one you were missing from the starting lineup, it was a fullback, Jordan Watson.
Jordan Watson. The Blythe, one of the Blythe gang.
One of the Blythe boys who
came
across.
Yeah, he was.
Mr. Utility.
It was, when I looked at it, when I saw, because obviously I went onto Google and had a look at that lineup. When I saw Watson, I thought Ian Watson at first was a fullback. A little bit before then, wasn't he? So Jordan Watson. So it was Liam Connell, Ben Headley, Jordan Watson, Alex Story, Terry Galbraith, Almar Holness, Joe Wheatley, Will Hatfield, and then Jarrett Rivers, Adam Campbell and Stephen Thompson were the starters. On the bench, Justin Donowa, Louis Lang, Asaji Bascom, Reece Armstrong, and the reserve goalkeeper,
Chris Elliott.
Correct.
Chris Elliott.
Chris
The man
Elliott.
with the black gloves.
Is that right?
Like he was some kind of serial killer, black gloves. I know what you
So-
did last
so well
summer.
done,
type
well
glove.
done.
Well
That's a
done,
quick
Andy.
bit of
Andy,
that,
well
yeah.
done.
Yeah, Chris Elliott.
right,
I'm
so-
sure he's just signed for a team in the Northern League. I think he's just signed for Grangetown or someone like that.
He's still playing, is he? Right? He'd probably be.
Yeah. I think he's a
into his
coach at
30s now,
Leeds
isn't
or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realise he was on the bench that day. Yeah.
Yeah, neither did I till I checked. So yeah, well done, guys. I mean, well, if anyone's got any ideas, other games we might do for that one, feel free to leave it in the messages. And I might let you two get on with your Sunday now, guys. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Darlo Till I Die. Thank you, listener, for downloading. If you like, give us a review on iTunes or wherever you're listening to this. That would be great. And you can find us on X, Twitter, whatever it's called these days, at DTID Pod as well. All that's left for me to do is say thank you, Michael. Thank you, Andy. And yeah, we'll be back next month.
Thanks,
Thanks very
Adam.
much, Adam. Good job.